Let's continue. And Alexandra Saieh joins us live from Washington, D.C. She's the head of Humanitarian Policy and also Advocacy for Save the Children. Welcome to our News Hour. Now, because of the challenges of getting aid into Gaza right now, especially the north of Gaza, what problems are you seeing because of a lack of aid getting in there? Of course, we know about polio, the starvation, but what else right now?
Thank you so much for having me. Look, children in northern Gaza are running out of time. Israeli forces have attacks on civilians. They've ordered the entire civilian population of northern Gaza, 400,000 people, nearly half of them children, to leave, and they've cut off food and aid and medical supplies to all those who remain. It's just a picture of just horror. It's a picture of hell. We haven't seen anything like this in the last 12 months, and we know how horrific the last 12 months have been. In other parts of Gaza, they had to pause the polio vaccination campaign for children because of the continued onslaught. So things are going in a horrific direction, more violence, an intensified onslaught, worse than anything that we've seen in the last year. We know that people are dying due to denied medical assistance. We know that the UN has been denied the ability to enter northern Gaza to help pull people out of the rubble multiple times. And just now we are hearing of another attack in the Jabalia camp in northern Gaza, the largest refugee camp in northern Gaza, which has just become a death camp at this point.
Absolutely. And Alexander, talk to us about the long-term impact on children that do survive due to the long period of food deprivation. We just saw there incredible images of people in Deir al-Balah just scrambling to get some food, all piled up on top of each other, just trying to get some bread.
Thanks. Yes. Well, Save the Children has actually been seeing increased cases of children who are malnourished in our clinics. When children are affected by acute and severe malnutrition, their muscles waste away, their visions blur, their organs stop, their hearts stop beating. It's just horrific. And dying of starvation is a painful death. And those who do not die, those who survive, will face lifelong consequences. This includes stunting. This includes impacts on their cognitive and physical abilities. So the starvation that we're seeing in Gaza will likely cause irreparable harm to this generation of Palestinian children. In addition to that, we're seeing an immense mental health toll. Parents in Gaza describe it as complete psychological destruction. And the military blockade on Gaza has, even before the last year, was causing an immense impact on the mental health of children. Children were suffering from nightmares, depression, and you can just imagine what things are like now with thousands of children who have lost one or both of their parents, who have lost loved ones, so many children who are now wounded with no surviving family members. It's going to be almost impossible for children to cope with the last year.
And just on that point of northern Gaza, how would you describe what's happening there right now? And Antony Blinken, on his 11th visit now to the region, has announced extra aid, $135 million in humanitarian aid for Palestinians. But what goes through your mind when he announces such a figure, and how does that impact or even get into northern Gaza?
Well, they can announce more funding for aid, but no aid is getting in. And in the past couple of months, we've seen a reduction. Almost no commercial supplies have gotten into Gaza, let alone aid. And northern Gaza has been completely cut off from food, water, and medical supplies. So until we see Israeli forces lift the siege on northern Gaza and lift the blockade on the Gaza Strip, more funding and announcements of more funding is not going to alleviate the suffering of the population.
Okay. Alexander, if I may interrupt, how close are we to declaring a famine in northern Gaza? Because the situation right now is just incredible there.
Look, when famine is declared, it's too late. But what we're seeing is some of the most horrific cases of malnutrition, of diseases, illnesses in Gaza. This is a result of continued denied food aid, medical assistance, healthcare, collapsed healthcare system. People have been kept on the brink. And without a predictable supply of aid, medical supplies, and the ability for humanitarian workers to actually deliver aid. Because remember, it's incredibly dangerous right now for aid workers to move around Gaza. We're just going to continue to see the situation deteriorate further and further.
Absolutely. And just with UNRWA staff, more than 233 killed so far and one yesterday from that agency alone. Thank you so much for your time and your thoughts. Alexandra Saieh speaking to us there from Washington from Save the Children.